Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MtG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is Izzet Auras for Dominaria Standard. So we're finally here. We're finally in Dominaria Standard. Let's get right into one of my favorite builds that I kind of made a first crack at. That is Izzet Auras. This is a blue-red aura list with some spicy stuff from Dominaria, and let's jump right into it right here. Going to the deck tech list, we have a nice new layout for a new set here for Dominaria. We're going to kind of show all the creatures at once, but we're still going to kind of slowly go through each one at a time. But at least now you have kind of all the creatures on the same screen at the same time. Starting with, of course, 3 Bomat Courier, a 1/1/1 with haste. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of your library face down. You can pay 1 red mana, discard your hand, sacrifice Bomat Courier, put all cards exiled with Bomat Courier into the owner's hand. Really like this card a lot. I think this card is super interesting, as well as being a great attacker, but also being able to fill your hand again. Just very, very powerful on turn 1. Next up here is a card that is the reason we built an Izzet Auras list here. This is Champion of the Flame, a full 4 of here, a 2-mana 1/1 human warrior with trample, and it gets +2/+2 for each aura and equipment attached to it. So that means this guy gets out of hand really quickly, and of course having trample does mean that this guy is going to be able to kind of push in some real damage super fast. Champion of the Flame is the reason this deck exists, and I love it. Another card for us that could actually get through some damage is Earthshaker Kenra, a 2-mana 2/1 Jackal Warrior. We need stuff to be able to get through other creatures, and this is a 2/1 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, target creature with power less than or equal to Earthshaker Kenra power can't be blocked, or can't block this turn. Not can't be blocked, it's can't block this turn. And of course, when it goes to graveyard, we can eternalize it for 6 mana, bringing it back as a 4/4 with haste, having the same ability, so making it even more impactful in the mid to late game. So having a 4/0 for this is kind of a no-brainer as well. Something else for us to go wide, as well as kind of get around some stuff, is Karizev's Skyship Raider, a 2-mana 1/3 human pirate legendary. First Strike Menace, which means it can, of course, trade with First Strike or get around multiple creatures or one creature with Menace right there. Whenever it attacks, create a 2/1 red monkey creature token named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. So it's actually creating 2 permanents for us on the battlefield during our turn that we're attacking with Karizev, which is actually really good for us because it kind of gets into our Slippery Scoundrel heal, which is needed for Ascend, which Ascend is, if you don't know, if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the Siege Blessing for the rest of the game. Slippery Scoundrel is a 3-mana 2/2 human pirate, and as long as you have the City's Blessing, Slippery Scoundrel is hexproof and can't be blocked. So a 2/2 hexproof can't be blocked, that's pretty decent. That's basically Boggle's territory in Dominaria Standard. This card and Champion of Flame are our real attackers. Karizev and Earthshaker Kenra are the creatures that helps us kind of get around our opponent's creatures. And the last 3 creatures in the creature slot here are Valduk, Keeper of the Flame, another fantastic card from Dominaria, a 3-mana 3/2 legendary creature human shaman. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each aura and equipment attached to Valduk, Keeper of the Flame, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next incept. So that actually goes towards us to getting Ascend for the Slippery Scoundrel, but also means we have explosive power if we get Valduk attacking out on turn 4 or 5 if we have so much auras attached to it. That card is ridiculous and super powerful for us. It's our game ender for sure. Moving on to the auras, we have quite a few in the list here. We have 4 Arcane Flight. This is a card that I really like in this list. It's kind of like One with the Wind. We do have One with the Wind in the list here, but it's actually 1 mana less, and it still gives us kind of the same output because it's +1/+1 and flying. It's not +2/+2 and flying, but the flying is what's more important for us than the power, since our other actual cards and creatures in our deck actually just kind of benefit from having auras in the first place. So Arcane Flight is coming in for that. Next up for us to get around some creatures is Cartouche of Zeal, a 1 red mana enchantment aura. Enchant creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn, and of course it has +1/+1 and haste. So play out Valduk on turn 4, get a Zeal on it, swing out for 6 points of damage. That seems pretty ridiculous. I like this card a lot. Moving up here to Curious Obsession, because we know we have a lot of stuff where we'll be out of gas by turn 4 or 5, we need to be able to draw some cards. Curious Obsession, along with the Bomat Courier, and of course Cartouche of Knowledge right after this, are the cards to help us do that. Obsession is an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Very simple, very straightforward. At the beginning of your instep, if you didn't attack with a creature this turn, sacrifice Curious Obsession. So this is another card where it kind of prioritizes us to make sure we attack out turn over turn to get that value from Obsession. Of course, if we do get the value from Obsession, session, we're going to be able to most likely just steamroll our opponent very early on in the game. Moving up here to another great card draw card, we have Cartouche of Knowledge, a 2-mana enchantment aura. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. That's simple enough for us, but it also gives a creature +1/+1 in flying, so kind of like Arcane Flight and One with the Wind, giving us a little evasion, hopefully getting around some other creatures that our opponent has on the battlefield. And the last two auras in here, of course, are One with the Wind, just a very simple +2 and flying for 2 mana for an enchantment aura. Just very simple and straightforward. And that is it in the deck list. We don't have any kind of like protection spells, we don't have any kind of ramp spells, no draw spells except for our auras. That is it. Let's go on to the land base here. Starting with, of course, we have Field of Ruin, just a 1-of here. A great card to get rid of a flip land for us, or any kind of non-basic that's on our opponent's side of the field, as well as hopefully thin our deck if we need to. You can tap for his colorless, or we can pay 2 and sacrifice Field of Ruin. Destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls. Each player searches his or her library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, that's untapped as well, then shuffle your library. So very good, very straightforward. Next up we have 1 Scavenger Grounds to hopefully deal with any kind of like Godfrey's Gift strategies or shenanigans in game 1. Tap for colorless, or you can pay 2, sacrifice the desert, which is sacrifice itself, exile all cards from all graveyards. So very simple and straightforward. Next up for us though, we have Sulfur Falls. This is a new card from Dominaria, or rather an old card that's being reprinted in Dominaria. This is a buddy land for us, coming in untapped unless we control, or coming in tapped unless we control an island or a mountain. So tapping for red and blue. Then we have Spire Bluff Canal, a fast land for us, tapping for blue and red, so great as well. And of course we have a nice even split of 6 mountain and 6 island, and that's going to do for the land base. This deck is super straightforward and very, very simple to pilot, but still very, very powerful in the early to mid game there. But let's go into the sideboard here. What can we do in game 2? The sideboard for us is including cards like 2 Magma Spray, so a very good card to exile like a Scrap Heap Scrounger, any kind of annoying thing like an opponent's Earthshaker Kinder or a Dorn Pouncer. This is going to hopefully help to deal with that. A 1 red mana instant deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead, which means they can't eternalize it or embalm it or whatever. Next up for us, we have 2 Spell Pierce to hopefully deal with any kind of like Settle the Wreckage tap outs on turn 4 or a Fumigate on turn 5, stuff like that. We want to make sure that they don't get into as quickly as possible. We have a Spell Pierce here to hopefully kind of shut that strategy down so we can continue to get in for some more damage. Counter target non-creature spell unless the controller pays 2 colorless. So if they're tapping out, we're going to play Spell Pierce. Next up here, we have 2 Abrade. So if we're playing up against an artifact style opponent, we're going to be bringing these in, as well as if we have an opponent that just has a lot of blockers in the way. This does 3 damage to target creature as well, so destroy target artifact or deal 3 damage to target creature for 2 mana. That's pretty decent. Next up for us, we have a Crooked Combination, a 2 mana artifact. We can pay 1, tap it, exile target card from a graveyard. That's pretty decent. Or we can pay 1, exile Crooked Combination, and exile all cards from all graveyards. So we do have Earthshaker Kinder in that it is a eternalized creature coming back from our graveyard, so we might want to just do a like singleton, like exile a particular card from an opponent's graveyard, which is decent enough for us for Crooked Combination, and that's why it's in the sideboard here. Moving on for some like anti-protection, or protection for us, anti-removal I guess. This is a 3 of Negate, a 2 mana instant, counter target non-creature spell. Very simple, very straightforward, and I love it on the curve. And to go a little bit wider, if we need to get that ascend a little bit more quickly, we have Pianilar here, a 3 mana 2/2 legendary creature, Human Artificer. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. So flying is pretty decent, but actually just having 2 permanents on the battlefield is really decent as well. We can pay 2, target artifact gets +1/+0 until end of turn. That's not that interesting to us. What's more interesting though is pay 1, sacrifice an artifact, target creature can't block this turn. So we create an artifact, we can sacrifice that artifact and make sure that our opponent's creature can't block. That's very important to us. And something else that's very important if we're going up against a token-based strategy is Sweltering Suns, a 2 of here, 3 mana sorcery. Sweltering Suns deals 3 damage to each creature. It has cycling for 3 colorless as well. So a very simple, very straightforward sideboard, kind of having a nice well-rounded like sideboard here to hopefully deal with any kind of situation that comes our way. But let's go to the actual deck list here to show this off. On MtG Traders, this is coming to about 55 tickets in total. In paper, if you want to build this, it's just under $100 in paper. Not too bad at all. Izzet Auras is probably one of my favorite deck lists because it's so simple and straightforward, yet so incredibly powerful. I love this list. I definitely will be doing a blue-white Auras list in the future as well, but I wanted to get out the Champion of the Flame list for Izzet Auras because I do think there is some real potential here for this deck list. Of course, it is, the first week of Dominaria, so the meta will shift. I do think that brewing, though, in the first week of Dominaria is probably the most fun I'm going to have all set long for sure. But that is the full deck list, guys. Please let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have any suggestions for it? Please let me know down there in the comments down below. I did want to kind of just like tilt it, basically go for an all-in strategy with just auras and creatures, but I do think kind of sideboarding putting in or mainboarding some Abrade or maybe some Negate, something like that, to kind of hopefully slow down our opponent if they have lots of removal. That might be a good idea if you're getting into a lot of removal in your meta or current meta. But I do think this strategy is just explosively powerful if you get out there with a good hand on game one. But that's it for the deck tech, guys. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got a whole bunch more deck techs this week. I will see you guys in Standard tomorrow.